So knowing that there's going to be a situation, it doesn't have to be the challenge, it doesn't have to be the the dangerous position that you're going to be in. It can be, when we look at situational awareness, well, what is it that you're going to do? What is it that you know, and how much planning can you put in? This moves away from what your everyday carry is. This comes down to your everyday capacity for thinking about it. So you're going to go on holiday. Currently, we're in France. It's Bastille Day. There have been attacks in France. France can be volatile, no more volatile than anywhere else. If you have the capacity for forward planning, then that's where you do it. And the forward planning, what sort of a person are you? Is this something that interests you? Is it something that you're forced to do as a part of your work? What planning can you put in place? Are you trained in martial arts? Are you trained in combatives? Are you trained in firearms? All of those have different connotations when you're coming away. So if you're trained in martial arts, you're trained in fighting, you're trained in combatives. When you're coming away to a beach holiday, for example, are you going to be in flip-flops most of the time, or détente? Are you going to be able to carry your EDC? What medical kit are you bringing? I would always suggest burn gel as the minimum part. Car chargers. Do you have a mobile phone, and is it charged? Do you have a separate battery pack? You have to switch your international carrier when you're over. Can you use GPS readily? Do you have a paper map for when it fails? Do you know where your place of safety is? How to get to your hospitals? How to contact your car rental place? Have you shared your route with whoever you're going to meet? Do you have an estimated time of arrival? Do you have separate clothing appropriate to the weather that you're going to have? Do you have a torch? Things like language barrier, communications huge across the way. Do you have the language of the country that you're going to? Do you understand it well enough to be able to communicate if you're going to a shop or looking directions? Do you understand it well enough so that if somebody is shouting at you in the foreign language or in a language that's foreign to you, do you understand the difference between them asking for help, giving you a warning, or making a threat towards you? If there is a medical situation, can you shout a threat, give a warning, or explain yourself to a doctor? Can you explain yourself to the police? Do you understand the levels of corruption within that law enforcement community or within the country? And do you have cash? Do you have cards? Are you aware of other outstanding transactional fees that are going to be on cards that you're doing? Do you have wet gear with you? Do you have enough water in your car? Do you have sunglasses? Do you have a hat? Are you aware of customs and cultures within that place? Are you doing your research? Have you been looking at the local news before you go? Have you been able to speak to somebody? How strict are local authorities on speed limits and adherence to speed limits? Have you looked at how and what you're going to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What are you going to do with babies when you come? Do you have everything that they need and extra water, cooling capacity if you're going to a hot place for them? Do you have special medication? Have you checked that your medication is lawful in the country that you're going to and complies with theirs? Have you checked, for example, because we're here for Bastille and obviously the famous Paris attacks, the attacks in Nice, and the manner in which those attacks were carried out? While we're not going anticipating or expecting a terrorist attack, do you have a plan on how to deal with that? Do you know where your kids are? If you're traveling with kids, do you know where your loved ones are if you're traveling with them? And if not, have you briefed them or been able to talk to them about what to do when things go wrong, if you do need to get them? When we're looking at the big things that are happening in France at the moment and the level of unrest and violence in some of the bigger cities, do we care that it is recreational rioting? Do we care that it is social uprising? Do we care that it's actually against the government? Is it any different that it's in a in a first world progressive country like France? Is that different? That it's not the Middle East and we're seeing things on TV? Is it how things are presented to us? Um, when we're preparing for things, we've put as many things in place as we can. We have to allow for Murphy's Law. Murphy always comes on holidays. Your comms will fail, your batteries will die, friends won't answer, police are busy elsewhere. Remember, if you're going to a flashpoint area, if you're in Marseille, if you're in Paris, and you think the police are going to materialize to assist you, the amount of police and troops and emergency personnel that are deployed for medical law enforcement, they're not coming to get you. This is really when you find out where your mental preparedness, when your training really comes to the fore. Whatever preparation you have put in place is the maximum that you could hope to depend on. And really, that is more than you're going to fall past when the emergency transpires. So, as a part of the emergency, have you been injured? As a part of the emergency, have you been physically compromised or challenged in some way? Who are you even phoning for your assistance? Do you know that when you're in Europe, you dial 112? Do you know that 911 still also exists as a number and will put you through to the emergency services here as a part of the whatever transatlantic agreement was put in place to allow for the huge tourism elements coming from America. At 999, does it work? Does your phone have to have other capacities put within it to be able to engage with local authorities? Do you have Google Translate on your phone or whatever translation tools you're going to use? Do you have enough to at least be polite? If somebody's speaking to you and they sound hostile, are they really? Are you reading body language? Is the body language in a foreign country the same as what you're used to? Your homogenous cultural identity back home. People in Europe can be much more expressive with their hands. And it can be quite daunting, and you might misinterpret the signal for something that it isn't. And there are cultural changes for that. So, for all of these things, when we're talking about situational awareness, this is just basic planning. You can plan for ages. You bring it with you. You bring your medical kit. Do you carry it on you? There's no point in bringing a medical kit and then it's back. It's not carried with you. Is it at least in your car? And do you have your mask? If there's going to be a medical emergency, are you and you're using a defibrillator, which are readily available, huge amounts of France, Italy, Spain, certainly across the UK. But if you're going through Europe, are you prepared for the fact that the defibrillator, when it's doing its communication with you, will not be doing it in English as a first language? It will be doing it in the first language of the country that you're in. Are you familiar enough with your medical response that you're going to do the right thing? So, are you carrying a tourniquet? Are you carrying blood clotting powders? Are they legal in the country that you're going to? Most of these things are legal in France. Certainly, if you're carrying a tourniquet and a breath mask, and they have them in your vehicle, and you have something in your go bag, whether that's, I would recommend burn gel and tourniquet, and some sort of blood clotting powder. Once you're dealing with catastrophic bleed, then it gives you the opportunity to prepare for either transport to a place of safety, transport to a hospital, or at least to try and control things until that comes to you. Are you able to arm yourself legally in that country? Force multiplication in terms of firearms and edged weapons may be out. May not be possible for you, but they most certainly may be possible for your opposition. Where are you keeping your documents? Are you able to lock things securely? Do you know the area that you're going to? And this is before we start looking at inclement weather, time of day, time of night, who is with you, and going into notoriously dangerous situations that would be similarly dangerous back home. So these are just things. This isn't situational awareness. This is preparation for going into a situation of which you've no control over. And it's the very least you should be attempting to achieve at this point.